The frozen food aisle at Walmart can be a lifesaver, offering convenience and endless variety, but with so many choices, it's easy to make a purchasing mistake. While the retail giant stocks plenty of gems, not every frozen product is a winner. Some are simply not worth your freezer space or hard-earned money. Before you load up your cart, it's crucial to know which items to steer clear of. We've done the research to help you shop smarter. In this list, we'll reveal the 12 worst frozen foods you should never buy at Walmart. From bland meals and questionable ingredients to poor value, we'll break down why each of these items deserves to be left in the freezer case. Let's dive in and see which products you should avoid on your next shopping trip. Before I reveal the chilling list of frozen food failures, I must explain the sinister criteria I used to unearth these supermarket horrors. My journey into the depths of Walmart's freezer aisles was not for the faint of heart. I peered into the nutritional abyss of each product, and what I found was truly terrifying. I'm talking about sodium levels so high they could preserve a mummy, and enough trans fats to send shivers down your arteries. These are not meals, they are nutritional nightmares waiting to happen. My investigation didn't stop there. I scrutinized the ingredient lists, uncovering a ghoulish gallery of low-quality fillers, mystery meats, and unpronounceable chemicals. It's one thing to be convenient, but it's another to be a Frankenstein's monster of processed parts. Then came the taste test, a truly harrowing experience. I subjected my palate to textures that defy description, soggy, rubbery, and gritty abominations that no amount of seasoning could save. The flavors were just as ghastly, ranging from bland cardboard to acrid chemical aftertastes. Of course, a true monstrosity often comes with a deceptive price tag. I weighed the cost against the pitiful quality and quantity, finding many items to be nothing short of a financial trap, luring you in with the promise of a bargain but delivering nothing of value. Finally, I waded through the dark waters of customer reviews, where the echoed cries of disappointed buyers confirmed my fears. The stories of freezer-burnt tragedies and flavorless letdowns were the final nails in the coffin for these products. These criteria forged my list, a warning to all who dare to shop frozen. The sodium-soaked disc of despair, frozen pizza. I began my grim investigation with a seemingly innocent staple, the frozen pizza. But lurking behind the cheerful packaging and promises of pizzeria-style perfection lies a monstrous secret. I am talking about sodium levels so outrageously high that they mock the very concept of a balanced meal. As I stood in the Walmart freezer aisle, the sheer audacity of some brands sent a chill down my spine that had nothing to do with the ambient temperature. One particular offender, a certain brand's Mega Meat Lovers Pizza, stood out as a true titan of terror. My hands trembled as I read the nutrition label. A single serving, a laughably small fraction of the whole pie that no one ever adheres to, contained more sodium than I should consume in an entire day. Eating just 2 or 3 slices would be akin to swallowing a cup of seawater. I could almost hear my own heart pounding in protest, my arteries hardening at the mere thought. This wasn't food, it was a carefully crafted vessel for salt. A processed disc of doughy despair designed to hijack your taste buds and send your blood pressure into the stratosphere. The pepperoni tasted unnaturally salty. The sausage was a collection of saline-infused crumbles, and the cheese itself seemed to weep briny tears. The sauce was a chemical concoction, a sharp, acidic paste that did little to mask the overwhelming saltiness. It's a preservative nightmare, designed to last for an eternity in the freezer and, it seems, in your digestive system. This pizza is a slow, silent killer disguised as a convenient dinner. It promises a feast, but delivers a physiological onslaught. To bring this monstrosity into your home is to invite a cardiovascular specter to your dinner table. Leave it in its icy tomb. 2. The mysterious morsels, pre-breaded chicken nuggets. Next, I turned my attention to a supposed kid-friendly favorite, the pre-breaded chicken nugget. The bags depict golden, crispy morsels that promise a quick and easy meal, but what dark secrets are hidden beneath that deceptively crunchy coating? My investigation into these so-called chicken nuggets revealed a truth far more gruesome than I had anticipated. The term chicken is used with horrifying liberality. What I found was not the wholesome white meat you might imagine, but a grotesque slurry of mechanically separated poultry parts, binders, fillers, and a litany of artificial flavorings. It's a poultry poltergeist, the ghost of chicken that never was, pressed and formed into a uniform, soulless shape. I dissected one of these nuggets, and the sight was unsettling. The interior was a pale, spongy mass with a rubbery texture that bore no resemblance to actual muscle tissue. It was a Frankenstein's creation of poultry leftovers, glued together and given the mere suggestion of flavor through chemical additives. The breading itself is another layer of this culinary horror story. Far from a simple coating of flour and spices, it is often a complex blend of refined starches, hydrogenated oils, and more sodium. This unhealthy armor is engineered to fry up to a perfect golden brown, creating a crispy shell that shatters to reveal the flavorless, pulpy nightmare within. It's a trick, a textural illusion designed to distract you from the fact that you are consuming a product that is more science experiment than food. These nuggets are not a meal, they are an industrial byproduct masquerading as dinner. Feeding them to your family is like serving a plate of edible deception. 3. The Morning Misery Frozen Breakfast Sandwiches. As dawn breaks, many reach for what seems like a solution to the morning rush. The frozen breakfast sandwich. The box shows a fluffy egg, perfectly melted cheese, and savory sausage or bacon nestled between two halves of a biscuit or muffin. It's a picture of morning bliss, but this image is a cruel mirage. My chilling experience with these breakfast abominations uncovered a trifecta of terror: staggering calorie counts, a ghastly list of artificial ingredients, and a complete absence of freshness that leaves you feeling more dead than alive. I examined a popular sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit variety, and the nutritional facts were a waking nightmare. The calories in one small sandwich were equivalent to a substantial meal, loaded with saturated fats and enough cholesterol to clog your will to live. The ingredient list read like a mad scientist shopping list. The egg was often a pre-formed, discolored patty containing more additives and stabilizers than actual egg. The cheese was not cheese but a pasteurized cheese product, a waxy plastic-like substance that doesn't melt so much as it sweats an oily film. The sausage patty was a greasy disc of mystery meat and preservative. When I heated one, the air filled not with the comforting aroma of breakfast, but with a strange, synthetic smell. The biscuit became a bizarre paradox of gummy and tough, while the contents turned into a homogeneous, lukewarm sludge. There is no freshness here. There is no nourishment. There is only the ghost of a real breakfast, a hollow and unsatisfying start to your day that leaves you feeling heavy, lethargic, and full of regret. To start your morning with one of these is to surrender to the forces of artificiality before the day has even truly begun. Flee from this section of the freezer aisle and never look back. The Empty Promise, Frozen Burritos. My quest for truth led me next to the frozen burrito, a food that promises a handheld fiesta of flavor. The packaging often depicts a plump, hearty cylinder, bursting at the seams with seasoned meat, beans, and cheese. It's an alluring image, a quick and satisfying meal for those on the go. However, the reality I discovered was a cruel and doughy deception. The primary sin of the frozen burrito is its abysmal filling-to-tortilla ratio. What you are truly buying is not a burrito, but a thick, starchy tube of tortilla with only a rumor of filling whispered into its core. It's a culinary bait-and-switch of the highest order. I selected a popular beef and bean variety, its wrapper boasting of a bold and zesty interior. After its prescribed time in the microwave, I was left with a scalding hot log, the ends fused into a chewy, cement-like texture, while the center remained a pocket of lukewarm uncertainty. I cut it open, bracing myself for the promised bounty. What I found was a sorrowful, meager smear of brownish paste, a ghost of what could have been a filling. It was a barren wasteland of tortilla. The advertised beef was nowhere to be found, perhaps represented by a few microscopic, unidentifiable specks lost in the mush. The beans had been pureed into a bland, flavorless sludge that tasted of little more than disappointment and regret. There was no zest, no boldness, only the monotonous, doughy taste of the thick, gummy tortilla that comprised at least 80% of the product. It's a carb-laden coffin, entombing the faintest suggestion of a meal. To call this a burrito is an insult to Mexican cuisine. It is a flour-wrapped fraud. 5. The counterfeit comfort. Frozen mac and cheese. There are few dishes as universally beloved as macaroni and cheese. It is the epitome of comfort food, a cheesy, creamy hug in a bowl. The frozen food industry preys on this nostalgia, offering what they claim is a shortcut to this comforting classic. With a heavy heart, I ventured into this territory, knowing the potential for sacrilege was high. My fears were not only confirmed, they were surpassed. The frozen mac and cheese I encountered was a grotesque parody, a dish so far removed from its origins that it barely deserved the name. Its primary evil lies in the cheese itself, a substance so overly processed it borders on the supernatural. I chose a well-known brand that promised real cheddar and a creamy sauce. The moment I peeled back the plastic film after heating, a wave of artificiality struck me. The color was a radioactive, unnerving shade of orange that does not exist in nature. The aroma was not of sharp cheddar or creamy butter, but of plastic and chemicals. The sauce wasn't creamy, it was a gelatinous, gloopy substance that clung to the overcooked pasta with a sinister tenacity. It coated my spoon with a waxy film that refused to wash away. The flavor was a singular, flat note of salt and chemicals, with a bizarrely sweet aftertaste. This was not the complex, tangy, and rich flavor of real cheese. It was an imposter. A laboratory-concocted cheese-flavored product designed to mimic the real thing, but failing on every level. The pasta was mushy and lifeless, having surrendered its texture to the icy prison of the freezer and the brutal heat of the microwave. This is not a hug in a bowl, it is a chemical concoction in a plastic tray, a hollow echo of a beloved dish that will leave you feeling empty and cheated. 6. The breaded betrayal. Frozen fish stick. My final subject in this chilling chapter was the frozen fish stick, a staple that has graced family dinner plates for decades. The bags are adorned with images of golden, crunchy batons, promising a flaky, flavorful fish experience that even the pickiest eaters might enjoy. But as I've learned on this grim expedition, the packaging is a liar. I discovered that frozen fish sticks are often one of the most egregious scams in the entire freezer section, a true breaded betrayal. The horrifying secret is simple: you are buying breading with a sliver of fish thrown in as an afterthought. It's an illusion, a crunchy sleight of hand. I prepared a batch from a budget-friendly Walmart brand, laying them out on a baking sheet. Even before cooking, the pale, uniform sticks looked synthetic. After baking, they achieved the promised golden brown hue, but the experience went downhill from there. The first bite was a mouthful of dry, flavorless breadcrumbs and air. I had to embark on an archaeological dig through the thick, greasy coating to find any evidence of fish. When I finally located it, the fish was a thin, grayish, compressed sliver of what I can only assume was some form of whitefish, though its taste was muted and its texture was disappointingly dry and stringy. The ratio was appalling. It was at least 2 parts breading to 1 part fish. The dominant flavor was that of fried, oily flour. You are not eating fish, you are eating the vessel that fish was once briefly acquainted with. It's a trick to sell you cheap fillers at a premium, a culinary Trojan horse that smuggles a massive dose of carbs and low-quality oils into your home under the guise of a seafood dinner. Do not fall for this fishy deception. 7. The veggie-based vexation. Frozen veggie burgers. In my descent, I sought a beacon of hope in the vegetarian section, a place one might assume is safe from the horrors of processed meats and excessive fats. I turned my attention to the frozen veggie burger, a product born from a noble idea, a plant-based patty that could satisfy a burger craving without the beef. The market is flooded with options, each promising a delicious and nutritious experience. But what I discovered in the depths of Walmart's freezer was a gallery of ghouls. Many of these so-called veggie burgers are nutritional phantoms, specters of health, that offer little more than strange textures and empty promises. My focus landed on a particular brand that championed its vegetable content, with packaging showing vibrant, fresh produce. The marketing suggested a wholesome, protein-packed alternative. The nutritional label, however, told a much darker story. The protein content was shockingly low, barely more than a few grams per patty. How could this be? I scanned the ingredients and found my answer. The patty was not primarily made of protein-rich legumes or soy, but of vegetable starches, fillers, and a small assortment of dehydrated vegetable flecks. It was a carb-heavy disc masquerading as a protein source. The real horror, however, manifested upon cooking. The patty sizzled in the pan, releasing a strangely sweet, almost medicinal odor. The texture was its true undoing. It was a bizarre and unsettling composite of mushy, pasty interiors and a tough, leathery skin that formed during cooking. It wasn't meaty, nor was it pleasantly vegetal. It was an unidentifiable, rubbery substance that resisted every chew. The flavor was a bland, earthy sadness, with a lingering chemical aftertaste that coated my tongue. This is not a burger. It's a culinary chimera, a cobbled-together monster of vegetable scraps and binders that fails to deliver on taste, texture, and its most basic nutritional promise. 8. The limp and lifeless lie. Frozen French fry. What could be more straightforward, more universally adored, than the humble French fry? A golden, crispy spear of potato, fluffy on the inside, salted to perfection. It is the ultimate side dish. A comfort food icon. The freezer aisle at Walmart is a monument to this love, with bag after bag promising restaurant-style or extra crispy results right from your own oven. I grabbed a popular, budget-friendly store brand, hoping for a simple, satisfying experience. Instead, I was served a greasy, heartbreaking lesson in frozen food futility. The cardinal sin of these frozen fries is their duplicity. They promise crispiness, but deliver a sad, oily saw. Following the instructions to the letter, I spread the pale, frozen potato sticks onto a baking sheet and placed them in a preheated oven. An aroma of hot oil, not potato, began to fill my kitchen. The package promised a golden, crispy finish. What emerged from the oven was a pan of pale, glistening batons, some scorched at the tips, others still limp and anemic. There was no uniform crispiness. They were a study in textural inconsistency, a collection of floppy, grease-logged potato pieces that slumped in defeat on the plate. The excessive oil was the true villain. These fries seemed to have been pre-soaked in low-quality oil, which seeped out during baking, effectively steaming the potatoes in their own greasy sweat rather than allowing them to crisp. The result was an exterior that was somehow both tough and soggy, and an interior that was mealy and waterlogged. The flavor was dominated by the stale taste of cheap cooking oil, with only a faint, apologetic hint of potato beneath. Shaking them in a bowl with salt did nothing but coat the greasy surface. They are not the crispy companions you crave, but limp, lifeless specters of what a French fry should be, leaving behind a pool of oil and a profound sense of culinary despair. 9. The sweet deception, frozen desserts and ice cream alternatives. My harrowing tour concluded in what should be the happiest place in the frozen section, the dessert case. Here, tubs of ice cream, sorbet, and frozen novelties promise a sweet, satisfying end to any meal. But a new breed of horror has taken up residence here, the healthy ice cream alternative. These products lure you in with promises of low calories, zero sugar, and guilt-free indulgence. I was morbidly curious. I selected a pint of a popular light ice cream alternative that boasted an astonishingly low calorie count for the entire container. I knew this defied the laws of traditional dessert making, and I was about to find out what dark magic was at play. The secret, I discovered, lies in a witch's brew of artificial sweeteners, sugar alcohols, and chemical stabilizers. Upon prying open the lid, the dessert didn't look like ice cream. It had a chalky, almost dry appearance. It was rock solid, and my spoon met it with unnerving resistance. After letting it soften, I took my first hesitant taste. The initial sensation was one of intense, unnatural coldness, a common side effect of the sugar alcohols used. Then came the sweetness. It wasn't the round, comforting sweetness of sugar. It was a sharp, metallic, and cloying sweetness that hit the back of my throat with an unpleasant chemical harshness. This was the calling card of artificial sweeteners like sucralose and acesulfame potassium. The texture was equally nightmarish. It wasn't creamy, it was gummy and foamy, a strange, airy concoction held together by a legion of gums and stabilizers. But the most horrifying part was the aftertaste. It was a persistent, bitter chemical flavor that lingered for what felt like an eternity, a ghostly reminder of the sweet deception I had just consumed. This is not dessert. It is a science experiment, a tub of sweetened chemicals designed to trick your brain into thinking you're having a treat while punishing your taste buds with a truly ghastly experience. True indulgence has been sacrificed at the altar of low-calorie marketing. 10. The waterlogged woe, frozen stir-fry meals. The frozen stir-fry meal kit presents itself as a vibrant, healthy, and effortless path to a sophisticated dinner. The bags are emblazoned with images of crisp, colorful vegetables and glossy, savory sauces, often accompanied by tender morsels of chicken or beef. It's a vision of Pan-Asian perfection, a quick trip to Flavor Town. But this vision, I discovered, is a watery grave where freshness and taste go to die. The overwhelming tragedy of these kits is twofold. The vegetables are reduced to a soggy, lifeless pulp, and the sauces are specters of flavor, bland and forgettable. I selected a popular chicken and broccoli stir-fry, its package promising a crisp, tender vegetable experience. As I emptied the contents into a hot skillet, my hopes immediately began to sink. Instead of the satisfying sizzle of fresh vegetables hitting a hot pan, I heard a sad, steaming hiss. The high water content from the freezing process was immediately apparent. The broccoli florets, once destined for a snappy bite, became limp and waterlogged, turning a sickly shade of olive green. The carrot slivers and water chestnuts, which should provide a delightful crunch, were sorrowfully soft and chewy. The vegetables weren't being stir-fried, they were being boiled in their own cryogenic juices. The chicken pieces, already pre-cooked, became tough and stringy in the process. Then came the sauce packet, a gelatinous blob of brown goo that I was instructed to add to the pan. It smelled faintly of soy and ginger, but mostly of cornstarch. As it melted, it coated everything in a thin, slimy glaze that did nothing to elevate the dish. The flavor was a hollow echo of what a stir-fry sauce should be. A one-note, overly sweet, and slightly salty concoction with no depth, no heat, no tang. It was the ghost of a sauce, a translucent shroud, covering a graveyard of soggy vegetables. To eat this meal is to experience the culinary equivalent of a dreary, rainy day. It's a joyless, texturally monotonous mess that insults the very concept of a vibrant stir-fry. 11. The rubbery abomination, frozen meatloaf dinners. Few meals evoke the feeling of home and comfort quite like a classic meatloaf dinner, served with mashed potatoes and gravy. It's a dish steeped in nostalgia, a culinary anchor in a chaotic world. The frozen food industry, in its infinite hubris, has attempted to capture this feeling in a plastic tray. The result, as I found when I braved a popular home-style meatloaf dinner from Walmart's freezer, is not comfort, but a monstrous perversion of a beloved classic. The experience is defined by a horrifyingly rubbery meatloaf and a gravy so unappetizing it defies belief. After its time in the microwave, I peeled back the film to a deeply unsettling scene. The meatloaf was a perfect, unnaturally smooth brown rectangle, glistening with a strange sheen. It bore no resemblance to the rustic, crumbly texture of a homemade loaf. My fork met it with a bizarre resistance before sinking in. The texture was its most terrifying feature. It was dense, springy, and disturbingly rubbery, like a slice of savory jello. The flavor was equally synthetic, a homogeneous blend of salt and unidentifiable beef flavor with the distinct, unpleasant taste of bread-like fillers. This was not meat, it was a meat-adjacent product, pressed and formed into a loaf-like shape by industrial machines. The gravy was a thin, grayish-brown liquid pooled in its designated compartment, with a skin formed on top. It had the aroma of bouillon cubes and little else. Its flavor was weak and insipid, a watery, salty wash that only served to make the rubbery meatloaf even slimier. The accompanying mashed potatoes were a starchy, glue-like paste, completing this trifecta of textural terror. This is not a home-style dinner. It is a soulless, factory-produced plate of despair. It takes a cherished comfort food and strips it of all its warmth, flavor, and soul, leaving behind a rubbery, tasteless effigy that will haunt your palate and your memories of what meatloaf should be. 12. The sugary swindle, frozen smoothie packs. To conclude my grim tour, I sought refuge in what I thought would be the safest of havens, the frozen smoothie pack. These bags of pre-portioned flash-frozen fruit and vegetables promise a quick, nutritious, and delicious start to your day. Just add liquid, blend, and go. It seems foolproof, a shortcut to health. But this convenience comes at a sinister cost. Many of these packs, I discovered, are an overpriced swindle, Trojan horses that smuggle exorbitant amounts of added sugar into what you believe is a healthy drink. I examined a tropical green variety from a well-known brand, drawn in by images of kale, mango, and pineapple. It seemed like the pinnacle of virtue. But a closer look at the small print on the back of the bag revealed a horrifying truth. Tucked away in the ingredient list, after the celebrated fruits and vegetables, were fruit juice concentrates, and in some cases, straight-up cane sugar. The nutrition panel confirmed my fears. A single smoothie contained a shocking amount of sugar, rivaling that of a can of soda. The natural sugars from the whole fruit were amplified by these cheap, sweet fillers. The health aspect was a complete mirage. Furthermore, the price for this pre-chopped convenience is nothing short of predatory. A quick calculation revealed that buying the whole fruits and vegetables separately would be significantly cheaper. You are paying a premium to have someone add sugar to your fruit. The flavor of the resulting smoothie was cloyingly sweet, the nuanced tastes of the individual fruits and greens completely bulldozed by the overwhelming sugar content. It wasn't refreshing, it was a syrupy concoction that left me with a sugar crash, not a burst of vibrant energy. This is not a health food, it's a dessert masquerading as a nutritious breakfast. A costly and deceptive way to start your day on the wrong foot. It's the final and perhaps most insidious horror in Walmart's frozen food aisle.